So, Jer, on 3, 2, 1, off you go.
Oh, yes, and welcome to the Irish Abroad Show. We are back once again on this Sunday evening with myself, Ger Brown, and delighted to be joined by Paul Nealon and Adam Courtney to bring you bang up to date with everything that's happened involving Irish players in England, Scotland, and further afield over the past 7 days or so. So much to get through with Premier League, Championship, the remainder of the lower leagues in England, as we've touched on, as well as Scotland, the rest of the world, even a bit of FA Cup in there as well. There was a couple of replays on during the week. So much to dive into. As I said, Paul Needham and Adam Courtney with me here. Lads, how are you all on this Sunday evening?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to getting into some Irish players abroad. How's things with you?
Oh, good. No, can't complain. Liverpool weren't playing this weekend, so my weekend wasn't ruined. That might change by 10 o'clock tomorrow night. The other man there, Paul, his beloved Everton might have something to say about that. You feeling slightly confident that Everton might take something from Anfield tomorrow even?
No, I never am. This game, I only look forward to celebrating after the game, which doesn't happen very often, as you can tell. I never understand why Liverpool fans are never looking forward to this fixture, considering they always manage to win it. They never seem to lose it. So, yeah, look, I just hope Seamus Coleman has a good game. He had a good game there the other week against Arsenal, so if he can replicate that performance again, I'll be delighted. And if Everton can replicate that performance under Deutsch again, I'll be delighted. But yeah, as you said, and I echo it, my team couldn't ruin my weekend this week, so it was great. But my football team themselves won a big game, and I actually played my first 90 minutes since September, I think. So pretty happy with this weekend so far.
Good stuff, fair play to you. Who knows? Could be wrapping up a couple of more appearances under belt over the coming weeks. So, Paul, but as we touched on there, we're talking about Liverpool and Everton. That's Premier League, so we might as well dive straight into a review by going to the Premier League. Not an awful lot of involvement from Irish players over the weekend, but let's just give a recap on what did happen. So, it was another frustrating day for Gavin Bazunu and Southampton as they lost 2-1 at home to fellow relegation rivals Wolves. They actually took the lead in this game, Southampton, and they've now lost all four league games under ex-manager Nathan Jones, as they now find themselves 4 points off the relegation zone. And I say ex-manager Jones because he was sacked this evening. Even though he's only been there since November, there was the World Cup break. There was a couple of highs, a couple of good cup wins, most notably beating Man City in the League Cup quarter final. But in general, you will kind of feel over that time their league position has deteriorated. Like I said, not picked up a single point at home. I think apart from even gaining 3 points away to Everton back in mid-January. He's lost every other league match, so it doesn't really come as any kind of major surprise. And the pressure has been mounting for fans over the last kind of couple of weeks. And as I said, even though only 4 points off, it is only mid-February. There's still loads of time, but on current form, they do kind of look a dead certain to be relegated. But maybe they might get that new manager bounce. We've seen already early indications what that could do for the likes of Everton last week. Hampshire Live gave the Ireland International 6 out of 10 rating, saying had very little to do in the first half, slightly involved more in the second period, but was denied a clean sheet by Jan Bednarek's comical own goal before conceding the second late on. Probably the most disappointing aspect from this game was the non-Irish involvement for the visitors' Wolves. Nathan Collins, for the second week in a row, was an unused sub, but Joe Hodge wasn't even involved in their matchday squad. Despite getting a full 90 minutes under his belt for Fulham in their FA Cup fourth round 3-2 win over Sunderland last Tuesday, it was back to the bench for Shane Duffy. He saw no action in Fulham's 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest. Frustrating for Duffy, but Fulham's brilliant season continues. That win actually now sees them climb up to seventh into the table. They actually occupy a European spot. So if they keep going the way they are, Marco Silva's side could be back in Europe next season, which would be unbelievable considering they were everyone's favourites for cannon fodder and to bounce straight back down to the championship. But by God, how they've torn that script up, an unbelievable season. Positive news, Evan Ferguson marked his return from injury. Thankfully, just a short injury, as he came on for the last 34 minutes of Brighton's 1-1 draw away to Crystal Palace. They were 1-0 down the time before going on to grab that equaliser to take a share of the spoils. I think that result actually seen Fulham leapfrog them in the table as well. Andrew Moran, was even an unused sub for Brighton this game. Good to see him on the bench, though. He has had a couple of involvements in the matchday squad this season. Sussex Live gave Ferguson a 5 out of 10 rating, saying the Irish striker made his return from injury when he was introduced from the bench. He put his shift in, didn't have any real chances of note, though. And then the only other Irish involvement from the weekend was Mark Travers was on the bench for Bournemouth in their 1-1 draw at home against Newcastle. Good result in their relegation plight. They have been on a bad run of form since Gary O'Neill was made permanent manager there, but good result for them against their former boss Eddie Howe's Chargers. Good bit to get through there, I suppose. Probably the standout talking point is Gavin Bazunu is now going to be facing into his third permanent manager in his debut season in the Premier League with Southampton this season. As I touched on, Nathan Jones wasn't there long, but overall in general, given their league results since he took over in November, it's not a major surprise in this day and age and climate of football management.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. Like it is tough for Gavin Bazunu, as an individual. You know, you go in your first year of not just first year at Southampton, but first year as a Premier League player as well. Like he's gone from Portsmouth to Southampton, which is a huge jump. Obviously, like he's done really well on an individual level, but obviously his team is facing a really difficult time at the moment. But it's not really ideal for him. I think we were kind of saying there, off air, like Nathan Jones did seem to be fairly out of his depth. It's not really a surprise the money that's at stake when it comes to survival in the Premier League, you know. So it is just one of those things where you hope for Bazunu that, you know, the next manager that comes in is still gonna like him. Obviously, you've got Caballero there, but you'd expect Bazunu to be starting. But yeah, I hope it goes well for him because I wouldn't want to see him being in the Championship. I do think he's a Premier League level goalkeeper and that he's got a great future for Ireland. So it would be a shame to see him get relegated, especially in his first year as a Premier League goalkeeper. But I don't think it would be down to him if that was the case.
Paul, do you want to jump in there as well with your thoughts?
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that the biggest talking point is Bazunu's management. I think the biggest talking point is that Ferguson's back fit. But it's a bit disappointing for Bazunu, but I don't think it's really going to affect him. I still think he'll be number one there. He's not really the one, in my opinion, that's making mistakes. He played against Everton the other week. He made one mistake and he was brilliant otherwise. Other than that, he's the type of keeper who can be shaky in games but still come back. Look at the Portugal game when he saved the penalty. He came back. He was arguably the best player on the pitch after that penalty save. So I don't think that he suffers badly with anxiety on the pitch or anything like that if he makes a mistake. And I think he's big enough, brave enough. And, you know, he said in an interview that he done last year with us that, you know, he purposely hangs around with older lads in the dressing room to always kind of be around what they're doing and what they're saying to make himself a better leader. So I really don't think, regardless of what happens, if Southampton do get relegated, I don't believe that he will go down with them. I think that someone will come along and get him, whether that's as a loan move, because I know Man City have an option to buy him first ahead of anyone else. So I think regardless of the fact, I think he will be playing in the Premier League or a similar level, whether that's abroad or whatever, maybe for a season if Southampton go down, and he'll probably get loaned out or sold if that is the case. But again, there's a lot of games to play for, and as Brian just came into the comments there and said he's only 20 and he's learning a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big step up. It's not like he's gone from the Championship to Premier League. You have to remember even as well, 2 seasons League One. One of them seasons actually, by the tail end of that season, in his debut season with Rotherham, he was actually even ended up being second choice as they actually suffered relegation. So like it is a big learning curve. Obviously, we've seen in a green shirt, as you made reference to that Portugal game where he made the penalty save for Ronaldo, and I think a couple of days later against Serbia at home as well, he was outstanding. Obviously his debut, we all remember, probably the only positive takeaway when we lost to Luxembourg in that game during COVID, that there is talent there. As you say, the maturity kind of seems to be there from Shamrock Rovers days. Throw in the fact that he's hanging himself around older pros in the dressing room. The mindset is very, very much good. Like, so I think there's a bright, positive future ahead of him. And who knows, there's still a third of the ways to go through the season. We've often seen teams, Portsmouth all them years ago under Harry Redknapp, you know, they had a great revival. Remember West Brom looked doom and gloom, bottom of the table one Christmas. They came back and turned around. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Southampton can still kind of pull off what you could say would be a bit of a great escape. I know you were saying probably the big talk about the weekend, you probably are right, it was the return of Evan Ferguson from injury. But just while we're on this game, maybe just quickly mention as well, is there any need to kind of press the panic button in terms of Nathan Collins' situation? Craig Dawson comes in, new signing, hits the ground running, scores in his debut as they beat Liverpool 3-0, keep a clean sheet. They've got another win again, Wolves back-to-back victories. You know, Collins not featured. It's a bit of a strange one because we all know as Ireland fans how much and the talent and quality is there, and Burnley fans from a short time there seem to rave him, love him. Stoke fans were massive applause for him as well. But for some reason he hasn't really kind of quite got the buy-in from all Wolves ones yet. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they've been struggling a little bit. But would you be a little bit kind of concerned, because it does kind of look like at the moment he's probably going to have to really fight to get his place back in the starting team?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like with the fact that obviously they've brought in Craig Dawson, he's come in and he's done really well in his first 2 games. But in all honesty, I wouldn't be too worried for Nathan Collins. Like as you said there, we all know the talent that he has. And I think, like, as much as Wolves have struggled at times this season, I don't actually ever remember watching him or hearing that he's had a bad game. Like, even when they've been playing really bad, I always feel like he's so confident that he never really shies away from a challenge. Like, I don't think he'd be the kind of player now to be sulking that he's been taken out of the team. I feel like he's the kind of lad who'd keep his head down and keep working really hard and fight to get his place back. And Craig Dawson, it's not like he's really young. Like he's kind of coming towards, and obviously he's come in and done really well, but he is coming towards the tail end of his career. I think Collins, I wouldn't be too worried about him getting his place back in the team, but yeah, it is nice to see for him, because he's been one of the kind of staples there since the start of the season. He was kind of like basically replaced Connor Cody in the kind of transformation from a back five into a back four. So obviously under Lopetegui, then you hope Lopetegui has the kind of faith in him. But I think if he doesn't have the faith in him yet, I think he will have the faith in him in the next kind of few months, and he'll see the qualities that he has, I'm sure, in training, because he's a top player, and we all know that.
Sorry, I just had myself on mute there. Yeah, I think Collins, I don't really think he has much to worry about. Like one injury, he's straight back in there. He was brought in as a big money signing. The manager obviously thought a lot of him when he brought him in originally, but obviously he's gone. But I think like Lopetegui, he's brought back players like Diego Costa and stuff like that. It seems as though he's just trying to maybe get a bit of experience in there amongst a lot of youth, because there's not that many good players in that Wolves squad anymore. A lot of the better ones have obviously moved on, but they still have kept the whole hold of the likes of Neves. But those strikers, a lot of them are very mediocre. I mean, ever since Jimenez ever got that bang into the head, he's never been the same player. And as well as that, then defensively, they were a bit mad to get rid of Connor Cody in the first place, and that was Collins was meant to be the new saviour for him. So he was coming in to replace him there, and he was, and then Cody was let go to Everton, which seemed as a strange move at the time. But I don't really think Collins, every player kind of goes through this little testing period, and it'll be up to him to get himself back out of the little situation that it is at the moment. I don't see this being a big deal. I still think he'll be starting for Ireland next month regardless, and that could be again his way of playing himself back into form. That's originally how he got into that Burnley team at the back end of last season after the Lithuania game, and that's when he really kicked on. He had a really good end to the season with Burnley, albeit they got relegated, but it wasn't his fault. He had outstanding performances for the rest of the season, and obviously carried that through to the summer games as well, and then obviously got his move then to Wolves off the back of that. So I don't really think it's as big of a deal. As you said, it's only a couple of games gone in. So yeah, if it was 10 games, then I'd be going, leave at the end of the season. But that's my take.
Yeah, and before we finish on the Premier League, enough negativity. Let's end on a positive note, as you touched on earlier, Paul. I think everyone was absolutely delighted to see the return of Evan Ferguson this weekend. We all kind of had the fears and panics when we seen that challenge from Fabinho in the FA Cup game a couple of weeks ago. Rumours going around that it could be kind of the cruciate ligament injury, but thankfully no such fears. He's back in action, and Stephen Kenny will be absolutely delighted because it's only 6 weeks tomorrow. It's that game against France.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I was really worried. I was also one of those people who was kind of really worried about when you see that injury. Like it was a horrific tackle. It was a definite sending off from Fabinho. So yeah, no, I was really relieved to see that that he was back, and it's good that he's back so early. Like I expected it to be longer than it even was. It was only a few weeks really. We've banged on every week about Evan Ferguson on the Irish Abroad show, talking about that he should be Ireland's starting striker, and I think you have to kind of maintain that at this stage. Like if he's fit now, like he's been unbelievable. The last since he broke into the first team. Obafemi has obviously struggled, but he's gone to Burnley now. So for me, if you're starting one striker, Evan Ferguson is definitely the main man for Ireland up top against France.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, you've thrown him on, and I know we're going to talk about Obafemi. He played yesterday. If I was playing tomorrow, I'd have the two of them up front. If he plays the 3-5-2, I think Ogbene, he's not really doing anything of note at the moment. That you could say he deserves to be starting. He had a good start to the season, but hasn't really been consistent over the course of the season. I still think he'll do a job for us. Troy Parrott's been in and out through injury. Aaron Connolly had a good week the other week, but again, I haven't been hearing rave reviews about him. But all they really need is a couple of weeks of good form coming into that and an injury, and one of them has to come in then and step up. And you have the likes of Callum Robinson and stuff like that, who'll probably be feeling a little bit annoyed that he's kind of a forgotten man in this scenario as well. And you've got players like Evan Ferguson who's come out of the wilderness and everybody's talking about him. So it's not just Irish people, like ESPN are talking about him. Then you have, a video went viral during the week of all our golden generation that we've all been talking about for years, but because some English guy does a video on it, everyone makes a big ordeal about it. But we're coming into this probably in the best and most exciting squad. Like whatever squad Kenny picks, it's going to be exciting because a lot of our players are doing well at the moment. And yeah, it's nice having a Premier League striker who actually scares oppositions, because we haven't had that in so long. So Shane Long used to do it, and he's probably the last who has done it for a while, and he wasn't that prolific, but he was just scary to teams because of his work ethic and stuff like that, and he would give defenders no time on the ball, and he was great for pressing and stuff like that, and he would get the odd goal. But Ferguson's obviously a different animal altogether, and I think he's going to be the real deal once he gets a few more, another 20 to 25 Premier League games under his belt. I think he'll start seeing the real best of him, but I think he has to be starting against France if he's fit and available, 100%.
I just want to pick up on something you said there. I was kind of intrigued to get a bit more. Like you said, you'd go with Obafemi alongside Ferguson in front, and you wouldn't go with Ogbene because he's dipped off in form the last couple of weeks. Fair enough, agreed. He kind of hasn't maybe been at the heights he was at the start of the season. But like, I don't know, maybe it's just my perception, but I still haven't fully bought into this hype around Obafemi. Like, I know he got moved to Burnley, but like, he done jack all this season. Still, this move to Burnley isn't guaranteed to take off. And if you're going to go off reputation in a green shirt, Ogbene has done just as much as Obafemi. Like, take away a game against Scotland, he hasn't really done much. And like I said, again, now he's got to move to Burnley. Let's see if it works out. I still have my doubts. And again, I still look and see a Southampton manager criticise his attitude, a Swansea manager criticise his attitude. I still just have a couple of question marks over Obafemi. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you might kind of point out and prove to me how I might be wrong.
Well, he scored against Armenia as well.
That's true. He did score a nice goal against Armenia, yeah.
So he set up Troy Parrott as well for the goal against Scotland. So he didn't just score; he assisted a goal as well. Ogbene has been good for.
I did say the Scotland game in general. I thought it was. I did make that point. No.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. So the Viva is like a home to him now because he scored twice, got the assist, seems to enjoy playing there. Ogbene has been good, but he had a good period last year. He scored the goal against Belgium. Was it a B-side? I think so. The games that mattered, or you would class them as the games that matter, I think Obafemi's turned up in the two big ones. It'll be interesting to see now. He played against Scotland away, and he wasn't really that fit, you could see, but he still was doing things, and I think he set up Troy Parrott, and Troy should have scored a goal if I'm right. So he's done the business for Ireland in the recent games he's played in. So for me, he seems to have this thing where he can score out of nothing. If you look at Ogbene's goals, they've all been set up by people. He's not really made it. Like, Obafemi can make something out of nothing. Ogbene, I don't think can. He gets on the end of stuff, yes, But I think Obafemi, you need a little moment of magic. He's shown 3 times of the 2 goals and the assists that he can do that. And it was a counter attacker, and Troy Parrott was 1-on-1 with the keeper, and if he scores that, I think we win the game. I think we go 2-0 up after John Egan had scored. So again, you could be talking about that assist as well if Troy Parrott had his shooting boots on that night, but he didn't. So that's why I go Obafemi. I hope that kind of cements my argument. I'm not saying that Ogbenny is a bad player. He's good to have off the bench. So is Callum Robinson. So
I think you're fully kind of justified your point there. So fair enough. And while we're talking about the likes of Chinozie Ogbenny and Michael Obafemi, we might as well get on to the championship now. As there always is so much to get through from this division, so I'll try and get through this as best as I can. So the action got underway on Friday night with a West Midlands derby between Birmingham City and West Brom. And it was Scott Hogan and Kevin Long of Birmingham City that walked away with the bragging rights with a 2-0 home victory over Darragh O'Shea and Jason Malumbi's West Brom. Bit of a dip for form, West Brom. They run that great run of form there for so long. It's now 2 defeats in the last 3. Let's see them slip out of them playoff places. But like I said, from where they were a couple of months ago, it is a big climb up the table. Speaking of climbing, John Egan and Sheffield United climbed towards the Premier League continuous. They trashed Ryan Manning's Swansea 3-0 on Saturday. Now 10 points ahead of third place Middlesbrough and with a game in hand. So barring a dramatic collapse, they will be joining Burnley, I think, automatically in the Premier League next season. Darragh Lenihan picked up a yellow card for Middlesbrough, but they still made a hat-trick of victories, beating Cardiff City 3-1 away. Mark McGuinness, Callum O'Dowda and Callum Robson all lined down that game for the Bluebirds. James McClean, as seen there in the name mentioned there in the title, he got the assist for Wigan in their vital 1-0 win over fellow relegation strugglers Huddersfield at home. That win now lifts the Latic off the bottom of the table, and they're only in the relegation zone on goal difference behind Cardiff City. McClean was also named in the official Sky Bet Championship Team of the Week, while Will Keane also started this game for Wigan. Sammy Smallock spent the last quarter of an hour for Blackburn Rovers in their 1-1 draw away to Watford. Jeff Hendrick and Shane Long both started for Reading, but it was a disappointing afternoon for the Royals as they lost 1-0 away to Sunderland. Hendrick played the full 90 minutes, while Long was taken off after 76 minutes. With Smallbone, Stoke City played out a 0-0 draw with Cyrus Christie, Sean McLaughlin and Aaron Connolly's Hull City. Sean McLaughlin actually came in for strong praise from the whole Daily Mail. He was their second highest rating, with a 8 out of 10 rating, with particular praise for his defending. Just also I was reading that report as well. You touched on about Aaron Connolly. Haven't kind of heard much since he got that brace. He did, by all accounts, miss Hull's best chance in that game, a good chance inside the box. So again, kind of goes back to kind of the story of Aaron Connolly's career. Gets kind of a couple of goals, has kind of a good moments, and just so far maybe just not quite fully kicked on for yet. But overall, in general, I think he has had a bit of good, positive impact in his time with Hull. Dan McNamara played every second as Millwall moved into the playoff places thanks to a 2-1 win over fellow London neighbours QPR, with Sinclair Armstrong and Jimmy Dunn lining out there for QPR. Just like James McClean, Luke McNally's displays for Coventry City saw him also named in the official Sky Bet Championship Team of the weekend in Coventry's 1-1 draw with Luton Town. The Coventry Telegraph gave the ex-St. Pat's man a 7 out of 10 rating, saying had a tough test in the first half, but stood up to the challenge and stood up to the challenge well in testing in a testing first half. Intercepted a ball brilliantly and drove forward and had a shot early in the second half, but unable to get enough power to test the goalkeeper. As we talked about there, Michael Obafemi, he made his Burnley debut for Vincent Kompany's Chargers as they trashed fellow local rivals Preston North End 3-0. He came on for the last 18 minutes of this game, while Josh Cullen played every second of this game and continues to get brilliant praise for his performance. He was given a 9 out of 10 rating from Langs Live, saying set the tempo of the team and an instrumental part of this Burnley success. Robbie Brady, Alan Brown and Tom Cannon all started for Preston, while Troy Parrott came off the bench. And Alan Brown had some interesting comments after the game. He gave a very brutally honest interview afterwards, where he pretty much just said that they were absolutely miles off the pace tactically and in general, and they have a lot to improve and work on. It has been another frustration season for Preston. Again, another chasing afternoon against Burnley, who I think it's only just a matter of time before they confirm their promotion back to the Premier League. Mark Sykes continued his great run of form by getting the winner in Bristol City's 1-0 win over Norwich City. That's now 5 goals in 6 games for the Belfast native, and he got an 8 out of 10 rating from the Bristol Live, saying worked incredibly hard, particularly defensively, alongside the excellent George Tanner, and obviously on about the goal that he slipped in under Angus Gunn. Andrew Bandelli played the full 90 minutes in this contest for Norwich, while Adam Eda played the last 30 minutes for Norwich as well. And finally, Mick McCarthy's Blackpool, they have slipped to the bottom of the table following another draw, this time 0-0 at home to Rotherham. CJ Hamilton and Andy Lyons started this game for the Tangerines, while Conor Coventry and Chinozie Ogbenny started for Rotherham. So, as always there, lads, a lot to get through. Might just go to yourself first again, Adam. From everything that I went through there, what's the thing that stands out the most to you from the Championship this weekend?
Well, I suppose if you're looking at Irish players in the Championship, you have to look at the fact that two of our players have gotten into the Championship Team of the Week, into the EFL Team of the Week. It's so impressive. Like, obviously McClean has done really well, and obviously everyone, he's a well-known person. He's not someone you need to probably touch on as much. But I've talked about Luke McNally before, but like I've been singing his praises for a while now. Like when he was at Oxford, he was doing so well. In League One, obviously got his move to Burnley for I think it was in the range of 2 million in the summer just gone. Obviously only played I think 2 Championship games up to Christmas. Now he's gone along to Coventry, and I've only heard rave reviews since he's gone there. I've watched the highlights back of 2 or 3 of the games since he's gone there, and he's so solid at the back. He's playing on the right side of a back three, and that's something that's really promising, I think, because obviously that's the system that Stephen Kenny likes to go with. I know there's a lot of competition back there. We have a lot of kind of good centre backs coming through now, but McNally, he's the right age. He's 23. He's getting first team experience in the Championship. Like, he's made his way from obviously playing for Drogheda, St. Pat's. Then he goes to Oxford, now Burnley, and then obviously now he's on loan at Coventry till the end of the season. But I've seen a lot as well on Twitter of people, Coventry fans, saying that they really want to keep him. They really like him, and that he's settled in there so well. He's kind of slotted into the back three, kind of really seamlessly, and he's someone I'm really optimistic about for the future because he's shown that he's able to cut it at the Championship level. Next season, obviously, he'll be a Premier League player by the looks of things. So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps up this form, where he could move in 6 months. If he decides to leave Burnley or whatever he decides to do, I think he'll be really interesting player to keep up with. And he's one I'd definitely like to keep an eye on over the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, as a past fan myself, it's good to see our ex-players have gone on to greener pastures doing so well. And as you say, like, I think it's fighting for his development as well, because he done so well at Oxford last season in League One, hence the move to Burnley. And he probably would have been frustrated with the lack of kind of game time. I think he came in for an FA Cup game against Bournemouth there just after Christmas. Thinking, great, brilliant. This might be his chance to get a run. But obviously, look, it just didn't quite happen for him. But it's brilliant that he's still playing at a Championship level, exact same division as Burnley, and he's gone into Coventry, and as you say, got slotted straight into the team and is making a good impact. And like you said, getting good reviews, getting on the Championship Team of the Week. So yeah, it's really encouraging to see. Like I said, from an Ireland point of view, as you said, there's just so much competition ahead of him. It's without doubt probably our strongest position is for centre backs. But just from my own personal development, it's fantastic that he's still getting to play week on week again now, instead of probably just sitting on the Burnley bench. And who knows, with good performance like this in the Championship, he might force his way into Vincent Kompany's thoughts again for the Premier League next season. But it remains kind of seeing what happens kind of there and the investment that Burnley might make in the summer. Paul, anything else there? Obviously, we mentioned Mark Sykes in great form. And again, more standout good performances for likes of James McClean, Josh Cullen, and obviously Michael Obafemi's debut as well for Burnley.
Yeah, just a special, I suppose, shout out for James McClean. He had a baby during the week, played a game during the week on the same day, helped him get a result. I think it was against Blackburn, and then got an assist for the goal. It was a lovely corner for Wigan to get the goal yesterday, and it was 1-0 there. So a really good week for him. And as you say, they're just in the relegation zone on goal difference. So it's been a pretty big week, and I'm sure he'd be delighted. He's obviously in the team of the week, and it's good to see players like McNally, who's gone to Burnley, probably not getting as much game time as he would have liked, having gone there at the start of the season, and now he's gone in at Coventry and he's shown his quality straight away. And they won the first game, he helped them win the first game, and then he's got into the team of the week this week. So excellent stuff from him. Josh Cullen, doesn't surprise me, gets better every time I see him. And Matt Obafemi, I just hope he can just start getting a bit of a run of games coming up to the games in March, because if he is fit and if he is firing like he was, he's a real danger for anyone we come up against in the Euro qualifiers. And then Sykes, who I haven't touched on. Playing well in a number of different positions, whether it's wing back, whether it's centre mid, scoring goals, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes on from there. Healy has come into the commentary. Said McNally was fantastic yet again. He had the leadership and experience of McFadzean at the back yesterday. It might be McFadden, I don't know, that's the way he spelled it, which will help him grow. He's the Hyam that we've been missing. We'd love to keep him. So there you go. I think you'd said it earlier on, Adam, that they're looking to keep him there at the club. So I think he could probably benefit with another year in the Championship. If they do go up to the Premier League, it might be a step up too soon. But he hadn't really played that much in the back three, and now he's starting to play in the back three with Coventry. So as Adam said, if he can continue getting teams of the week and stuff like that in the upcoming run to March, you just never know, because he's called up players like Liam Scales and stuff like that. Maybe his only disadvantage is that he's playing the right side and not on the left side, because we don't have that many left footers playing left centre back, but it is what it is. Really good week for those lads, but especially McClean, McNally and Sykes.
Just finally, maybe on the Championship, just on Mark Sykes, if he continues to keep up this form or even some way of it over the course of the next 6 weeks, I don't think he'll start against France. But how much do you think he could feature on Stephen Kenny's radar to possibly feature in that game?
Well, he called him up for the last squad and he wasn't doing a whole lot in terms of, scoring
goals.
Yeah, scoring goals, but maybe he was putting in performances that we maybe weren't keeping up because he wasn't scoring goals. I think he's done brilliant this season, and Kenny had him in his squad for the last international break, so I feel as though he really likes him, and he could be one of these kind of dark horses who comes in a little bit like Ogbenny when he first came in, quite unknown, and then came in and took his chance. So if he does come in, I hope he takes his chance, and whether he could be maybe that third man, that higher midfielder that we maybe be lacking, rather than a wing back, because I don't see him dropping Matt Doherty regardless of whether Matt Doherty's starting for Atletico or not. I think Matt Doherty is his number one right back, and he won't change that until Matt Doherty can't run anymore. So I think he would go with him at right wing back, and I think Sykes can be another midfield option just ahead of Malumbi and Cullen, if that's who you're going with, if he doesn't go with Hendrick, or he could be a replacement for Hendrick.
Yeah, it's also worth noting as well, he actually brought him on that game as well against Malta, but I suppose given that it was such an unforgettable game, don't really remember much of what he did on the pitch when he came on. Paul, you actually have the roundup as well from League 1 and League 2, so do you want to give us all up to date what happened there over the weekend?
I surely will, yeah. So Plymouth beat Portsmouth 3-1. Finn Azaz got the goal as he continues to impress. He played 67 minutes there. He was injured, I believe, before that, so it's good to see him back on the pitch, back scoring goals, and he has them up at the top of the table, albeit they're 2 points ahead with Sheffield Wednesday, have a game in hand, and they're 2 points behind them, so it's getting quite tight up the top of the league. Burton beat Exeter 1-0. Pierce Sweeney played 53 minutes before going off injured. MK Dons drew 1-1 with Oxford. Dawson Devoy played. Conor Grant came on the 81st minute. Darragh Burns was an unused sub, as was Ed McGinty. Then Peterborough played Bolton and lost 5-0. Owen Toll played in that game, got a clean sheet. Jack Taylor played 75 minutes and got booked for Peterborough. Barnsley beat Cambridge 2-0. Luca Connell played well. He got a 7.0 rating on SofaScore and was replaced in the 88th minute by Barry Cotter, who obviously of St. Pat's you'll know quite well, Ger. And then Wickham beat Derby County 3-2. And James Collins scored in that game, and McGoldrick played, Jason Knight played, he got the highest rating for Derby. Howard played, and Aaron Cashin, they all played in that one, but couldn't help Derby get the win. And then Ipswich played Sheffield Wednesday, drew 2-2. Marcus Harness played 50 odd minutes in that one. So that's your round. There's a couple of games that a couple of teams that didn't play, Lincoln and a few other teams, so they obviously aren't included in the list. I think they're playing Valentine's night, which is in 2 days.
Yeah, I suppose probably the big thing to take away from that, as you mentioned, is just been Azaz's recent good run of form since he's returned from injury, and obviously Plymouth flying it so high at the top of the table. And if, like I said, I think unlike the Championship, the automatic promotion race in League Two is kind of quite tight. Sheffield Wednesday up there, they drew with Ipswich, who are also right up there as well. You've obviously got Derby, who made such a good run of form of late. Obviously losing yesterday to Wycombe, I know they have a good bit of ground to make up, but if Plymouth can go on to see out and see the job, you'd be imagine that like he'd be someone who'd be kept on and playing the Championship next season. I think that's then maybe when we might see him start to come into the window and the radar for Stephen Kenny. I don't expect a call up in March. I don't think. Yes, we've seen glimpses of him from the 21 level. Obviously, he's doing quite well at Plymouth, but I still think there's a lot of players having the radar. I still think he needs to do it over a longer spell of time, more consistently, and obviously even that little bit higher level to get that little bit kind of close to international level. But look, he's only just fresh out doing 21 ranks. He does look a good prospect, and like I said, if he keeps going the way he is, I do think he can definitely have a good future in the green shirt. But I do think it could be maybe 2024, maybe building towards the World Cup for 2026 before we kind of see him as well. And good to see as well that even though it's defeat for Derby and he mightn't have had any goal involvement, but as you mentioned, Jason Knight was their highest ranked player performance-wise, I think, in Sofa score, as you were saying yesterday. Because we were touching on, I think, one of the shows before Christmas, we were a little bit kind of worried about him, but he's definitely picked it up again. Maybe he's put the injuries behind him. Maybe he's got a little bit of confidence back again with Derby flying up the table. But he's one player I don't think that should be, on ability-wise, in League One. I think he's better than that. And fingers crossed that Derby don't go up this summer, that he will get that move to the Championship, and he's demonstrating that again in League One. What a good player and what. We were just actually chatting about this, myself and Owen Fitzpatrick, who I've interviewed 1 or 2 times after Pat's games on the channel. Like, we really actually missed him in Europe last year. And I think if we had him, someone with his ability and his magic, we probably would have got over the line against CSK Sofia. Pat's probably should have done it anyway, but just that extra little bit of kind of class. So I think, it was great getting the money from the time. You kind of felt, oh, maybe could we not have just held off another 2 months? No, I don't think we would have got any further in Europe. I think Basel probably still would have whipped us. But yeah, I think it is interesting because he was doing kind of so well early on when K Dongs was getting goal involvement or scoring in cup competitions and was seeing minutes in the league. But I know they've always had a change of manager there just before Christmas. They really are struggling down the bottom end of the table, but he's not getting a look in at all. When you look at the likes of his fellow teammate Dawson DeVoy, he's getting plenty of game time and doing really well. Thomas on a share. So it is frustrating because we do know how good he kind of is. Maybe unlike some of them players, maybe the move came maybe just a little bit kind of too early for them. They would have had a good bit more League of Ireland experience in the belt. Darragh Burns really only had the 2021 season, didn't actually play much last season before he went off. But yeah, I think it would be kind of something to look at, even if they could just manage to get a loan for the rest of the English kind of season, just to kind of start off as well. Because we mentioned like Barry Cotter, the impact he had when he came in last season, he's kind of gone. Like, so it definitely, I think there's going to be a good buzz around Richmond Park already going into the new season. But definitely think of someone like him, if we could get him back. Now, as you said, like a League of Ireland team could go anywhere, seeing with Johnny Kenny going to Shamrock Rovers. But you'd ideally be kind of thinking if he was looking to move back to the League of Ireland, temporary, or let Pats have a kind of a 1 foot in the door. Right? Like, but it'd be an interesting one to see. But in general, I'm kind of a little bit disappointed and surprised that he hasn't maybe got a little bit more game time than K Dongs. But maybe it's said that's just down to the managerial change, and it's kind of been a forgetful season for them compared to it was in the last season during the playoffs. So it's been a real surprise season for them.
Yeah. Adam, would you take him at Bowes, Darragh Burns?
Yeah, definitely take Darragh Burns at Bowes. He's someone I watched a lot last season at different games. I always felt like he's so electric. Like, it's not that often you see a player with that kind of just raw pace on the wing. And obviously he's at such a good age. Like, I thought the move to MK Dons would work out really well for him because obviously him and Dawson DeVoy went over there at the same time. And Dawson DeVoy is just a regular in that team now. He's slotting in there so easily. Like, he's been really impressive. So it's kind of disappointing for probably Darragh Burns himself looking at Dawson DeVoy, who's gone over, who they're both kind of in the same kind of category of top young players in Ireland at the time. So I think it's a tough one because maybe Darragh Burns will feel a bit disappointed if he has to go back to the League of Ireland now after probably, I'm sure in himself he would have felt so excited to go over to England, and now it maybe a bit deflating to go back to the League of Ireland so soon. But it's the same as what Jared said there. Like, if he was to move back to Pats for maybe, until for 6 months, I don't think it'd be the worst thing. Like if his alternative is sitting on the bench for MK Dons, I think he'd definitely be making the right move and going back to Pats for a short-term loan. But it'd be interesting to see, because he is someone I really rate highly. Like his feet are unbelievable. Like he's so tricky, and as I said, so fast, and like he was getting goals and assists last year as well. So he is someone who also is a great age as well. He's still very young, so he's not someone I'd write off for sure. And I definitely wouldn't rule out a late League of Ireland move.
Yeah, Dundalk could be an option as well. As old manager Stephen O'Donnell there as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few clubs that he could go to if he does decide to go out on loan, and obviously there's upcoming internationals for the under-21s and stuff like that, which I'm sure he'd want to be getting the squad for. So it'll be interesting to see if anything happens there. In terms of the other stuff in League One, the only real main talking point is Finn Azaz, and Jerry's kind of already really touched on. So I suppose we'll move on to Scotland and the rest of the world. And I know, Adam, you've got the stuff for that, so fire away, my friend.
Yeah, so for Scotland, there isn't too much. Anyone can let me know in the comments if there's anyone I've missed out on. But Motherwell lost 3-2 in the Scottish Cup to Wraith Rovers. Ross Tierney played 90 minutes in that game, and then Ryan Olin also played 90 minutes at centre back for Wraith Rovers. Then in Scottish League One, a player who's not been on the radar as much is Rory Patton. He played 90 minutes for Queen of the South in their loss to Hamilton in the Scottish Cup, but he's in all competitions this season. He's got 18 goals and 7 assists, which is obviously they're really good numbers, like in the Scottish League One. But those stats are all competitions, but he's playing in the Scottish League One. He's the kind of player I think will definitely be getting a move. Those kind of numbers, he should definitely be getting a move abroad soon, or to a higher level soon. In terms of the rest of the world, obviously our main kind of Irish player abroad is Matt Doherty, who for the second week in a row has remained an unused substitute for Atletico Madrid, with Nahuel Molina starting right back instead of him. Obviously the World Cup winner for Argentina. Atletico beat Celta Vigo 1-0 in that game away from home. Then in Italy, Festi Ebisele and James Abankwah were unused substitutes in a 2-2 draw with Sassuolo for Udinese. Then in the Milan derby at under 18 level, Kevin Zeffi from Inter faced off against Cathal Heffernan for AC Milan. Inter actually won that game 6-0. Zeffi scored 1 goal for Inter Milan, and Heffernan came off the bench for AC Milan. Then this evening, only an hour or two ago, Jake O'Brien, the 21-year-old centre-back who has played for Ireland 21s, he started for RWD Molenbeek in the Belgian Challenger Pro League, and they won 1-0. That was away from home. So yeah, that's the kind of main roundup of the rest of the world. Obviously, the main kind of thing there is about Matt Doherty and his lack of game time. He hasn't even come on since. Obviously, it's only 2 games, but what do you think in terms of Matt Doherty's move? Do you feel like he will get a chance, or how do you think it'll pan out from Atletico Madrid?
Yeah, I was just looking at it. It's a tricky one because I was just looking at there off air as well. I think again he was unused kind of stuff. I'm thinking, surely he'll get an opportunity in the cup game coming up. But Atletico Madrid are even out of the Copa del Rey, so they've only got league games left, and they're in a real battle to get top 4. They currently occupy that last 4th spot after tonight's win. It's hard to know. It's still very, very early days. As you say, he's up against a World Cup winner battling out for his position. Is probably obviously so settled in there, so it's going to be a tough one. But you definitely would think that, maybe with midweek games or maybe in a slight injury or something like that, or as Paul alluded to, I think we're on about Nathan Collins, the international window, could be an opportunity. If he puts in a really good performance against France, who kind of knows? It's a strange one. I think I always kind of did fear that was probably the one downside to this move, as I did kind of fear when it happened he was kind of struggling for game time. So it doesn't really overly kind of particularly surprise me. But look, we'll wait and see. There's still a long way to go. I think the last run of games in the league season is the first weekend in June, the middle of March. So there's still a long way to go yet. So who knows what could happen? But yeah, probably just I think the fact that Atletico Madrid are in such a tight battle for top 4 at the moment, and we all know about the value and the importance of getting into the Champions League, and probably especially in a league like a league where there isn't as much money as there would be in the Premier League. So I think maybe there is a little bit of a fear element that they just have to kind of keep going with what they kind of tried and trusted, what they know, to make sure they get results.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Paul, opinion.
Sorry, there's a slight lag there. I think just with Doherty, it's gonna look. It's early days. He probably has to earn Simeone's trust, like he had to earn Conte's trust. And I thought once he got Conte's trust, he was fine. So I don't. He's only been there a short while, so I don't think, again, similar to Nathan Collins, I don't think we need to be hitting panic stations just yet. There is an international break coming up, which he'll probably get minutes. Hopefully he'll get minutes before then, so he's coming in sharp, somewhat sharp anyway. And then he might end up hitting the ground running from there. So I don't think it's something to largely worry about. How great is it though to see players like Zeffy and Heffernan, who are quite good friends, playing against each other. I know Zeffy's team beat Heffernan's team 6-0, but he did come on as a late sub, so it wasn't really his fault, from what I picked up on that. But yeah, that's you know, that's a kind of more positive story from the international side of things. And Jake O'Brien's killing it over in Belgium. It's probably too low of a standard, I think, for him. I think he was offered to go to, I think, Bristol Rovers or somewhere like that during the January transfer window. Not sure why he didn't go there, but yeah, I think a lot of our players are doing well. I think Matt just needs an opportunity, and then he needs to seize that opportunity once it comes along. But overall, we're at this moment in time, we're going into that international break. I think in most players are in a good run of form, and probably for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Oh, sorry, Jared, go on.
Yeah, I agree, because I think there was an awful lot of doom and gloom coming into Christmas because the November window was so awful. There's such lackluster performances against Norway and Latvia. And even without kicking the ball, I kind of feel, because you touched on it, like Evan Ferguson's emergence, and other players have really stepped up in the championship, like Jason Malumbi's been excellent over the last kind of couple of weeks. Josh Cullen's form, Michael Bafemi's now got his transfer sorted. Who knows what can kind of happen there? The Doherty transfer as well, if he can manage to get minutes there, it really kind of pay off. Yeah, like, it's one of those, like, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a massive ask to take something off against France, but you will be a little bit more optimistic about that game than you would have been 2 months ago, because of the form the players got themselves into, which is really good and really encouraging. But like I said, we're still under no illusion as to how big of a task we face, not just against France, but in general in the group coming ahead, even to just probably even take third place, because Greece are going to be no pushovers either.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I was just touching on Doherty there. I remember we are watching a podcast with Kieran Trippier talking about his time at Atletico Madrid, because I always thought, it's not really that often you see players from Ireland or England going to Atletico Madrid or to Spain in general. And I remember him saying that he actually felt so integrated into the culture there and everything, because I wondered how like someone like that would settle in over there. And he talked about the mentality from Simeone and how he actually felt like his understanding of the game defensively really improved over there. Obviously Doherty's coming from a really similar situation where he's struggled for game time a little bit at Spurs. And Trippier talked about how he was really struggling defensively at the time, went over and he kind of revolutionised his game. And obviously he's come back to Newcastle now and he's a completely different player with kind of refound confidence. So I'm hoping something like that can happen to Matt Doherty. Like, he is a player I really highly rate, and I was disappointed to see how it went from at Spurs in terms of not getting the game time, especially when someone like Emerson Royale is playing over him, who is not exactly like he's doing unbelievable. So yeah, no, I'm really excited for Doherty, and I hope he can build on that. And just the Kieran Trippier thing there, that was just something that gave me a bit of encouragement in terms of just Simeone can improve someone like that. So yeah, no, I am really hoping for Doherty. And as Paul said, the same with Nathan Collins. You don't need to kind of get too worried about only 2 games in. For 3 or 4 months down the line, and this is the case, then I'd be worried. But for the moment, I'd be okay with that, because there will be minutes there for him to have.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of all the players. We've pretty much gone and spoken about. We've nearly been on this an hour, speaking about players and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we've spoken enough. No one's really coming in with comments on or opinions or anything that they want us to discuss. So I think we'll leave it at that. Huge thanks to anyone who joined in on the comments, and huge thanks to everyone who watched. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, don't forget the like button, follow the lads as well, the socials are under their names, and yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you.
End the stream.